Welcome to the DSPN.
John Walker wins the 1,500 metres gold medal at the Olympic Games.
The All Blacks have won by 29 points tonight.
The Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome to the podcast, people. Martin, Devlin, Lachlan Waugh, the DSPN. Before we even start, thank you so much to everyone who jumped on YouTube yesterday, the DSPN channel, and watched the Justin Marshall covering the Six Nations interview. 28,000 hits in just 18 hours. That's a record for us. We're up to 3,500 subscribers now on YouTube. Want to get to 5,000 quick as possible. So please, if you can, just take a little bit of time. Hit the subscribe button. That really does help us out. If you're listening to the podcast via Rover, then like, share, follow, leave a comment. We'll try and get back to as many as possible. We're all over social media, Martin Devlin _DSPN, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. Again, leave us a comment. Thank you so much for doing all of that. Housekeeping gone. Let's rip into it. We do a sports show / podcast every single afternoon. It's around about 4:30, dumped in front of you, just covering the big topics of the day. Special guests on the show: Highlanders coach Jamie Joseph, RNZ's Jamie Waugh on the weekend's Super Rugby Preseason, and Matt Gunn from Twizel, a good old Aussie mate with his weekly rant called Let's Be Positive. In the Tide 5, we're talking the Warriors forward Zion Mau, who's off to Canterbury. Rubiales is on trial for the Hermoso kiss. Ardie Savea named MP captain. A supercomputer has predicted the Super Bowl. Danielle Collins, Sam Kerr, amongst other topics. We start the show the same way every day, which is a little sermon from the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
Lisa Carrington is committed to the next Olympic Games. Yes, I know this news was announced last week, and no, it didn't slip on by, but I didn't really have time to comment on it then. And certainly deserves more than just a passing glance, so I want to take the time to do it now. It's not just great news for her, it's even better for our country, because it means we are virtually guaranteed medals, if not golds, come LA 2028. Why? Because that's how much of a beast Lisa is at her sport. Only the best ever. Let me repeat that. The best ever. Our most decorated Olympian. 8 golds already. She wins 2 more, and she's going to be second on the all-time list, only behind the incomparable Michael Phelps. And he's never going to get caught. His 23 is enough to start his own smelter. Lisa Carrington has as many gold medals as Usain Bolt. Repeat that out loud 100 times. It's just amazing, isn't it? And she sits just one behind the likes of Carl Lewis, Kate Ledecky, Mark Spitz. Legendary names on the track and in the pool. To have your name on that list is amazing enough. To think she might end up being second only to the Mount Everest of Olympic gold Phelps, well, that's a mountain only she could climb. Call it K2. See what I did there? Just like the Kanushi races. Choose any adjective you wish. Extraordinary, incredible, mind-blowingly brilliant. There aren't enough words in the thesaurus to describe her dominance, her genius, her greatness.
Devlin.
First time on the DSPN podcast. What a pleasure this is. I love this guy. He has been a real force in New Zealand rugby for a long time. Very well respected. Has come back from Japan. Was in a different role with the Otago Highlanders last year. It's a big, long intro for the new coach for 2025, Jamie Joseph. Good to see you, mate.
Yeah, nice to see you, Marty. Yeah, it's great to be back. It's been really good down here in the last sort of couple of months. Yeah, we've got a young team, but very, very keen and ready to go.
I want to ask you all about that. Just how's your summer doing down there? You know, it's nice and warm. I mean, it's swelteringly hot up here in Auckland.
Oh no, we're in Auckland last Friday playing Moana Pasifika, and it was kind of different kind of heat, very humid during the match. But yeah, the last few days has been outstanding down here in Dunedin. As I said to you earlier, the wife and I, we went to St Kilda Beach last night to have a swim about 7 o'clock at night. That doesn't happen very often in Dunedin, so any chance you can get in the south, you head to the water for sure.
Well, you got another warm-up match against the Cantabs, the Crusaders, on Thursday in Invercargill, but just harken back to that one up at North Harbour. Had a good mate, Jamie Waugh, went along there and watched that game. It's always difficult to kind of think of things to ask you about it because it's a pre-season game. So can I just open it up and say, what were your general thoughts after watching your team play?
Look, it was scrappy. There was lots of mistakes. Every player, we wanted to give as many players in our squad an opportunity because, you know, past years we've had 3 games of pre-season. This year's 2 games, and then we're off to Sydney next Friday. You know, and in terms of everyone has put a hell of a lot of work into their pre-season. And so we just thought it was more important for the squad that everyone gets a taste of rugby, particularly the guys that won't get, unless there are injuries, a lot of game time throughout the season. So what that creates is a pretty scrappy game. But what I was mostly proud about, Marty, is, really trying conditions. Flying to Auckland in the morning, getting off the plane, playing a game of rugby and flying home. They found a way to win, and that was on the last play of the game. And it was an 80-metre try with lots of touches from different players. And so what does that tell me? It tells me there's belief in the team around what we're doing, and there's certainly fitness to be able to hang in there.
Could you play, if the Super Rugby was starting this weekend, is your team ready to play this weekend? And if not, what can you do between now and the weekend after next? You've only got, 7, 8, 9 days left.
Look, I like it'll be like everybody in the first weekend. And I guess that's why the teams with the most experience, where they can get off and just pick up where they left off better than the younger guys who haven't been to big stadiums, played in front of big crowds, haven't played with that burden of responsibility. That's the part that we're going to get used to. We have to get used to. So we've had our team connected together, longer than, for example, the teams with lots of All Blacks, because we only have one All Black. But so we're fit and ready to go. But we haven't had that match experience, and so there'll always be news for us. There'll always be anxiety when the pressure comes on, and that really just takes time in the saddle to get used to that.
Jamie, you're used to, over the last few years, very proud Highlander yourself, but the fact that this team is under-resourced in terms of, as you say, elite players and All Blacks, is that just how it is at the moment, and you've just got to deal with that? There's nothing I can do about that apart from coach and develop these young men into All Blacks, and then things change, and then hopefully we're able to keep them. It hasn't always been like that. No. There has been a number of players, but what I've said to my players, which is where we're at, we've got 18 New Zealand under 20 players. From two seasons ago, we've got one All Black, and 2 with Folau, and then we've got a handful of New Zealand A players, and I guess, and our average age is 22. Wow,
so that for me is. That for me is our point of difference. We've got a team that's young, hungry, and ready to go. They're fit, but it's going to take a little bit of time to get that match time experience that perhaps the other clubs have. And so what's important for me is that we create a club and a team environment where they want to be part of. And so far, that's been really, really good. And so we've got new captains, a new coaching team. We've even got a new clubhouse, Marty, but we've got so the owners have bought into the fact that they needed to reinvest in the club. We've been operating with 2 showers and 50 players since 2012. We've got 8 showers now, so it's a blessing.
Okay.
Yeah, not too smelly anymore, so things are looking up.
And the hot water stays. One of the things over the last couple of seasons that I think all of us from this side of the microphone, all sort of fans, look at is that, some of the games, you're getting guys that might have not even played one game of NPC, and all of a sudden they get their Super Rugby debut. And, that war of attrition, those injuries do happen. So just harking back to the fact that you can prepare your players, but how do you prepare them for that big stage and actually say to them, hey, it's still a game of rugby. You are playing for the Highlanders. This is your opportunity. What do you say to them?
Well, the first step is getting them physically prepared, because and I guess over time I've copped a bit of criticism around that. But what I know is that when the teams go to the stadium, that they're ready to go physically. And then you've got to ask, if you don't have the physical preparation, how do the players that are 21, 22, how do they get confident to go out and play the Wallabies? Like, we're playing a number of Wallabies, if not, I don't know how many the Waratahs have, but it sounds like the whole team's Wallabies. Mm-hmm. And following week, the Blues. So if you're not physically prepared to a level where do you get your confidence from? And so then I go back to the first step really is to give them physical confidence that they can actually cope with anything that comes at them. And then the second part, which is, I guess, what you're referring to, is what do I say to the players? To keep things really sharp and short. It's really that they're part of a team and that they've got a specific role. and that's all they need to do. And so then the coach's job is to make sure that role is really clear and simple. Sometimes coaches stuff that up, don't they, and give the information out so the boys can go out there and actually use their skills and use their physicality or whatever they might have as a point of difference, and go in and try and win a game of rugby. It's a game of rugby that everyone loves to play, but sometimes we can complicate things. I try to uncomplicate things.
Is that a different you coaching than, say, it has been over the last few years? And how different is it? Like, what have you learned? What are you learning?
No, never changed.
Okay.
So keeping things really simple allows the players to take responsibility, and keeping things really complicated, and then we get lost in the noise of details. So I guess I've coached. This is a new coaching team. For the previous 10, 11, 12 years, I've coached with Tony, and we've had quite a stable coaching team. We know each other really well, and we offer different things to the players. It's taken a little bit to, I guess, bring my coaching team together around keeping things really simple. So, if you ask, I think the best ones to ask around how we coach is really the players. But I guess if the players are enjoying the footy, enjoying the team environment, going out and showing confidence in the game, then it kind of reflects how they're getting led from the top, from myself and my coaching team,
Every coach goes into this, every team goes into this with the objective of winning the competition. And, that doesn't change. You have to say that. But, from listening to you as well, you've also got to be realistic about it. So have you set any ambitions for this team in terms of wins, in terms of top 6 aspirations, those things?
Yeah, look, I know this because this is just everything that I've done as a coach. Like every team that I've coached really is, these questions are the same questions, from 25 years ago when I first started, and then coaching the Māori All Blacks to beat England. I seem to always have teams that the perception is the opposition will win. And that's my job really, is to have a vision where the players believe, and then when they believe, then a method to achieve that vision. And that hasn't been any different from the early days in the Highlanders to Japan or the Māori All Blacks or any other team that I've coached. It's no different now. The reality is we're a team. I feel we're a team on the up. I talked about the amount of young players that we have. Young guys, for me, it's a young guys game, Marty. If they stop looking at the passport number, when they make the team, so we got young guys. They're keen. They'll make mistakes, and I guess it's just how they recover from those mistakes and under big games. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but in terms of our intent and what we want to do as a team, bloody oath, we want to win the competition. This is just going to be a hard job for us.
So how much long term are you looking at as opposed to the right now?
Well, I'm not sure your question.
Well, it's just that, you've got young players and you want them around, and obviously that's all kind of in the future. You can probably look at this group of players and think, wow, this is what you might be like in 2 or 3 years. But here's the here and now where you've got to start playing this competition in 2 weeks. Yeah,
well, I've got to win one game. There's 14 games. So, and then if you win one game, you get another game. There was a team last year that had a All Black team and couldn't win bugger all. I've been in that position as well, and the year later won the competition. So it's a funny old game, rugby, when you get these perceptions which create expectations on the players, it doesn't necessarily help. Well, I just know inside our team is that everyone's on the same page and everyone's really keen. I can't tell you, whether it's going to be this year or next year. But I can tell you this: we're going for this year.
How important is it to you to get a New Zealand scalp? Because it's been a while. I don't know what the stats are, but somebody will know what the stats are. But it's been a while.
Well, that's a question at the other end of the spectrum. That's on the basis of somebody else's team. So we've got a new team. There's been 12 players that are new. Green, new. We beat the Crusaders last year. I don't know how many years it's been. Look, I don't know the answer to that question because I don't think like that, Marty. What I think about is the Crusaders in a couple of days and how that's going to feed into the Waratahs match. And if we're worthy and we create an opportunity to win, then there'll be another game. I'm not scooting ahead. I don't think I've got the luxury to be able to scoot ahead because the depth of my teams in terms of experience is way behind the other clubs. So it is certainly game by game.
Jamie, was it always the plan when you came back that you wanted to get this job and be hands-on and be the head coach again? Because you've had other roles within the franchise.
Yeah, no, it was my job to come back and have a breather.
Okay.
So I've been living overseas. It started off with my family for 2 years, and then for different reasons, the crew came back, and so I've been travelling for 6 years. That became unsustainable. I've got 4 children. I've still got a 16-year-old daughter at home, a son at uni here at Dunedin, and so when we made the decision to leave Japan and come back and put family first, I was actually ready to have a breather because I've been going for a while then, without a rest, and then opportunity to come was to come in and support the club in a head of rugby role, which seemed less strenuous as coaching. So I said, yeah, well, that sounds like a good idea. Certainly kept me close to the club that I love, and I felt there's a really supporting role for a young head coach. Not a young coach, but a young head coach first time.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it, Marty. Just enjoy coaching. Didn't enjoy being a head of rugby. Trying to do everything else apart from coaching. I really just enjoy the coach.
I was going to ask you that. That was going to be the next question. How much are you enjoying it? Yeah, you're loving it, obviously.
Oh, I like the crowd. I like the players. Yeah, there's lots of things that go on behind clubs and rugby teams that feed into the coaching team. But I just feel, for me, taking responsibility for the whole shebang is better suited to my skill set.
A couple of quick questions. We'll let you go. Thank you very much for your time. I know you're bloody busy, obviously. In terms of international coaching, in terms of at the very highest levels with another team, be it the All Blacks or anything, is that something you've parked at the moment? Is that something you're never going to revisit? Is that something that may happen?
Well, I love coaching international. It is different. So you learn your trade, in a grinding competition like the Super Rugby, where everything's always on the move, training, and then you experience, which I have, 2 World Cups with Japan, bringing a team together, they're highly motivated, highly resourced. But for us, you're playing Tier 1 teams. So when I first started coaching Japan, we'd get 1 big game a year. When I finished playing Japan, we're having 8 Tier 1 test matches. It's a hard place to win.
There you go, yeah.
But it was great for the players and certainly for me as a rugby coach. I'd love to get back to international coaching at some stage. It's just I've just parked it for a couple of years because of my family situation. I'm going to work hard to get back there at some stage. Just the opportunities are really slim.
And how is Tony, mate? You're in touch with him a lot. He's not doing bad with South Africa, is he?
Tony, but he's a Highlander, and he lives in Dunedin. He lives around the corner. He's actually in our facilities. He's a helper. He's one of us. So Corey's younger brothers coaching with us as well. So Tony will always be part of the fabric here. He's on the walls. He's in the blood. And it's important that any opportunity that we can get, that the coaches like Tony, with the experience that he has, come back and share it with us and the boys.
Thank you so much for your time, mate. You sound as though you're in the right place. You're the right person there at the moment. For most of us who've all got other teams we love to support in the competition as well, the Highlanders are always our second favourite team. I genuinely wish you all the best for the season. I can't wait to see who you put out on that pitch and how they develop, mate. Go well.
Good man. Thanks, Marty. Thanks.
The Type 5.
5 separate sporting topics, roughly 90 seconds on each. And when the bell goes ding, we move quickly on to the next topic. Ardie Savea, captain of Moana Pasifika. What position is he going to play, though, during Super Rugby? Is it going to be 7 or is it going to be 8? 2 court cases going on at the moment across the world with massive implications depending on the eventual judicial decisions. I'm talking about Rubiales and the Hermoso kiss, and also Sam Kerr, racially abusing police officer in London. Danielle Collins has done exactly what she said she would at the Aussie Open. She's gone to the Bahamas and she's posting on social media and she's going, guess what, all you fans who booed me, you're paying for this. A supercomputer has predicted the result of the Super Bowl, and Zion Ma'u is up and left the Warriors. Let's talk about Ardie to start with. Where does he play? Look, he can play 6, 7 or 8. I'm leaning towards the fact that he won't change his position, that he will play 8. But the All Blacks, because of Sam Cane's retirement, have a vacancy at 7. My natural inclination is to lean towards Ethan Blackadder in that position, given how well he played against South Africa in that first test. But then again, the poor bugger is constantly injured, and we just can't get a consistent run out of him. If we could, I would say him at 7, and then Wallace comes back.
Right, is your question about where Ardie plays for MP or is it about the All Blacks? Because you've gone on a bit of a tangent.
Okay, so where does he play for a start for MP?
Well, wherever he wants. / wherever New Zealand Rugby tell Moana Pasifika they want him to play.
Okay, that's the point. And I think that wherever he plays for MP is where he plays for the All Blacks. So that's why I asked the question.
So nothing against Moana Pasifika. Their squad this year is much better than the last couple of years. There's some names in there, but in the loose forward group, there's not, again, with respect. So Ardie Savea, if he wants to play at 7, can play 7. If he wants to play 8, he can play 8. It's up to him / it's up to Scott Robertson what he wants.
Yeah, so, I don't think that you can discount the fact that the All Black coach has got something to say about this. And he has to, because it's all about the All Blacks, isn't it, in the end?
Yes. It's all about the All Blacks. Absolutely.
Plus or minus 3 wins for MP. They had 3 last year.
Oh, jeez. Well, it's a tighter comp this year because you've got a couple of Australian teams that by default, thanks to the Rebels ending, their squads are better, mainly the Waratahs. I think the Highlanders will be better because they have a better coach. Crusaders will be better, so I would say 3 wins. I'd say 3. I wouldn't go under or over that. I'll go 3.
Okay, 4. We'll just quickly go on to Zion Ma'u. He played 1 game for the Warriors last year. A lot of promise coming through the grades, reserve grade and things. I just hope that this isn't another katoa to Melbourne. That's all I'm hoping. I watched him in that game against the Gold Coast. He looked pretty bruising. Is it a loss or not?
What, 1 game?
Well,
a lot of blokes look great after 1 game.
And look, the thing is that, in past seasons, without Andrew Webster being there, players leave the Warriors and I always think, oh, God, they're going to go and be a much better player somewhere else. But if Webby doesn't want him...
Yeah, it's a good point. They don't have good history. But I think, Ali Katoa was different because he looked the goods for the Warriors.
Knew, didn't
he had 1 or 2 really good years for them, and then they let him walk. So that was the problem there. A supercomputer has predicted Super Bowl. Now, you don't need a supercomputer to predict Super Bowl. Guess who the supercomputer has predicted will win? Kansas City.
Guess who the supercomputer has predicted will be the MVP?
Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, and the scoreline?
31-27.
30-27. See, that's what I mean. You don't need some
serious?
behind a keyboard telling you this. We all know this.
But it doesn't mean anything. They do this every year with every sport. They do it with the World Cup. What was it? For a long time, they had that octopus that predicted the winner, and then it got it right because it was Spain in 2010 or something stupid. I mean, people have too much time on their hands. None of it matters, okay? Do you think that when the Seattle Seahawks had that wild catch to Jermaine Kearse and got a first down and had about a minute on the clock and a timeout or 2, and all they had to do was run the ball a few times and eventually Marshawn Lynch would get a touchdown, give it to beast mode at the 1 yard line. What do you think the supercomputer would have said at that moment in time?
It would have said,
what did the
give it to beast mode.
What did the supercomputer say before the 2015-16 Premier League season kicked off? Did they say that Leicester were going to win it? No. Stop with this stupid technical modernised stuff.
I'm trying to find things to talk about before the Super Bowl.
Well,
look at you. You're not even confident in your Eagles, are you?
I think we've got a better chance than 2 years ago.
Do you know what I'm hoping? I'm hoping it's a draw.
You want us to lose? No, you want us to lose.
I want it to be a draw. That they run out of overtimes, and for the first time ever, they go, you have to share the trophy.
That's not going to happen.
Just so that both teams are going to hate it.
That won't happen. No, what you want more than that is you want me to be miserable. Because everyone...
I hate the Eagles because they're divisional rivals and they dictate.
But if your team can't win or / your team's not good, as long as your mates' teams are bad.
Yeah, so I'm going to tick that box. I don't want Mahomes to win 3 in a row. I don't want Kansas City to win 3 in a row. I don't want Kelsey to propose after. I don't want any of it.
You love Taylor Swift.
1 or 2 songs. Rubiales. This is Luis Rubiales, who kissed Jenny Hermoso on the lips in a post-match celebration when Spain won the Football Women's World Cup here a couple of years ago, is now on trial for sexual assault and coercion. Jenny Hermoso has testified and said that just completely ruined the moment, destroyed it all for her. So there's many moving parts to this. As far as Hermoso is concerned, look, however she feels is absolutely legit. And him doing that was completely wrong. No question about that. He should never have done that. It was way out of order. However, a conviction for sexual assault and coercion, is that a little over the top as well?
I think we said a similar thing when it got announced what he was being... It was like a year ago when it first came out what he was going to be accused of, and now it's obviously happening and they're in court and whatnot. I'm the same as you, where look, it's a terrible thing when it happened. Everyone's going, what the heck's he doing? What's going on here? Because no one in their right mind does that and think it's a good thing to do.
It's not. And you look, and grabbing anyone and pashing them up, if you think it's a good thing to do, look, you're invading their personal body space. It ain't.
But there is something heavy about being accused and convicted of sexual assault. You think it's something more than just an unsolicited kiss.
Yeah, and when we say just an unsolicited kiss, I think that's how most people probably feel about this.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's more than, I think, harassment. So there's kind of like a grey middle ground between what this actually is, right?
And I'm going to talk about this with Sam Kerr next as well. I think what's more important is not the verdict, it's the punishment.
Well, I'm surprised. Is he still on the job?
No, he's lost everything. He's lost everything. So I think he's going to get guilty. It's what the punishment is. Same as Sam Kerr, the Australian football superstar, who is absolutely guilty of racial abuse here. Watch the video. She is entitled. She's drunk. She's obnoxious. And she says to the police officer, "Oh, you're stupid and white." Now, we all know you substitute that white word for the B word. I'm not going to say it, but if you did that, that is absolutely racial abuse. So why is it not racial abuse? Because she's abusing a white guy.
It is by the
definition of racism.
It is, yes, but I think that, and you would agree with this to an extent, there is a big difference between someone who is of a dark colour of skin being racially abused. Hold on, let me finish.
I've been racially abused in my life, and if you call me a honky or whatever, it has zero effect on me. Okay? None.
For people who are black or brown, even if they're light-skinned brown, the way that Sam Kerr is,
or Asian or any other race other than white. Come on.
Yeah, but it probably does mean something. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm offended by what she said, and she's absolutely a racist the same way that.
No, she's an obnoxious, drunk, entitled twat, is what she is. Well, and she should get convicted of that.
Well, the video isn't nice because the way she's lying back in her chair at the police station, and she's on her phone. She's not even looking at the person that she's talking to off the body cam footage. Why were the police called? Well, because she was abusing a taxi driver.
There you go.
So. This is the thing. The story has clouded what's actually gone on here. She's done something very wrong by abusing the taxi driver, and then she said something to the police station. But because of the racism, whether it is or not, depending on how you see it, that's then clouding and people going, oh, it's not racism. She's not a racist because, you can't be racist to a white person, blah, blah, blah. But there is actually something that she's done wrong that she needs to own up to, which it actually feels like that she's not. It doesn't feel like that she's saying, hey, look, sorry, I did something wrong, and people are fairly saying, sort your behaviour out.
Mate, Sam, the easiest way out of this was going, I'm sorry, I was drunk, I acted like a drunken dick, I apologise. That's how easy it was to end this, but now you're in court. Again, I go back to Rubiales. I think that she should get convicted. However, I think, again, it comes down to the punishment. And I don't think the punishment should be severe.
But how should she be punished? Should she be punished the same way that if I'd called...
No, she shouldn't be.
Okay, so so you think there is a difference then between...
I do. It's weird, isn't it?
A white person doing it or a black person doing it.
Yeah, watch the space. These are two really interesting verdicts that are going to come out. I'd actually quite like to be on the jury for both of them. Let's finish with Danielle Collins, who... The story, I don't know whether you saw the story. This is great. So the Aussie crowd were just giving it to her, okay? And a couple of weeks ago at the Aussie Open. And she turns around and she says, you're paying for my holiday. You can say what you like to me, but guess what? It's money in the bank for me. And at the end of this tournament, I'm going to go on holiday in the Bahamas, and that's all on this prize money, and thank you very much. So the crowd were giving her stick. She gave it back. I thought it was a good bit of banter. Of course, the way it was written up in the Australian media, like it would be her, disgraceful behaviour from Danielle Collins. Anyway,
I thought Aussies were more easygoing than that.
Not their media. Their media's the same as us. It's clickety, clickbait. And she's now in the Bahamas on holiday with her friends, having the holiday she said she would, filming her butt, doing all of this. It's called returning serve, isn't it?
Yeah.
She's just spending the money how she would.
She never did anything wrong.
I applaud this. Yeah. If the crowd are going to give it to you, why not give it a little bit back? What the hell's wrong with it?
You're a country of giving some jib to everyone that you ever play on a sporting pitch, a field, a court, whatever it is, and someone's just done it back to you, and what, you go crying? Jeez. No, she's done nothing wrong here. One thing I actually hated, and it's sort of old now, it's about a month ago, whatever, is that there was someone, and she was a media member in Australia, whatever, she did radio, print, and she tweeted something saying, it's a real shame that Danielle Collins is talking about earning this money when there's all these LA wildfires going on. You could be donating the money to... I just thought, what?
Wow,
don't try to
connecting.
What, are you insinuating that she's happy there's fires in LA? What's going on here?
Exactly.
Come on.
Before we go, I'll just mention a day in history today for all of our older listeners and viewers. Today in 1991, Andrew Jones and Martin Crowe set a then world record Test cricket partnership, Basin Reserve against Sri Lanka, 467 runs, and Marty Crowe, the beloved Marty Crowe, went out for 299. It happened on this day in 1991.
Martin Devlin.
Super Rugby, first weekend of pre-season done. We've got another one to go. And then, it's just a couple of Fridays away, Valentine's Day, she all gets underway. Jamie Waugh, who I always lead into by introducing as the most respected and trustworthy sports journalist in this country, and I truly believe that. Jamie, welcome back to the show, mate.
Thank you, mate. Thank you for the introduction. You can probably add that I'm one of the only ones left at this rate. So
there is that, yes. And I'm not laughing at all about anything to do with that. I hate it when our industry shrinks, but, not much we can do about it from this side of the microphone. Mate, you were at MP versus Highlanders on Friday at North Harbour. Jamie Joseph is on the show today as well. So you got a first kind of glimpse. But we've been talking during the week about this, and I want to chat about the Super Rugby preseason, but I just don't even know really where to start. I mean, what did you glean from watching what you watched on Friday?
It was an interesting game. It was definitely a preseason game. It was very scrappy. Felt like there was a few guys sort of getting to grips with a few new interpretations. One that I picked up, which I think will probably play a part in the first few weeks, at least, of the season, is that interpretation we saw on the All Blacks interview tour with the box kicking and the block runners running back and guys having to get out of the way of people chasing the kicks, because what it led to was quite a few box kicks, a lot more box kicks than you'd see in a preseason game, I can tell you that much. And the guy catching the ball getting turned over very rapidly and penalties getting one off that. So that may well end up being a tactic that we'll see quite early on before teams can figure out a way of kind of countering that whole thing. So, I mean, tactics-wise, that's probably the main thing I took out of it. Other than that, I mean, the good players from the Highlanders played well. The good players from Moana played well. It was a close game. I think Highlanders got up by 6 tries to 5 or something like that. So there's plenty of positives from both teams. But I think when I spoke with Jamie Joseph afterwards, he was typically gruff and saying that there was a lot to work on. Which there definitely is, and I guess they've got 2 weeks to do all that.
Yeah, and when I looked at the scores, because we didn't see any footage of it, I looked at the scores from the other games. There was about 15 tries in the Chiefs versus the Hurricanes, and the worrying thing, Crusaders Blues, was the injuries, because that's the main thing about this, isn't it? No one's going to remember who beat who in pre-season, but we are going to remember if you're not going to be playing come season.
Yeah, that's right. And I think what a lot of people should probably understand about Super Rugby is that it is a real war of attrition, and it's about how well your squad can absorb what's going to end up being some key injuries. And I mean, we've already seen the Chiefs lose one of their most important players already this season, and you look at the depth that they've managed to put together at loose forward, and I would say, well, yes, whilst Steady is a big loss to them, but they're in a very good position to absorb that. It's when you get to situations with other teams and you can sort of put a ring around each positional unit with some teams, like, for example, the Hurricanes and the inside backs. And if you lose someone influential there, then you're really testing the depth of your squad. And, we can't not play preseason. These guys have to have a run. Yeah. But so you are running the risk of injuries. It looked like the Chiefs and the Hurricanes managed to mitigate that by not bothering to tackle in their game. Yes. So I think we've got another weekend of these to go before we hit the season proper, and then we'll be able to assess and say, well, okay, maybe this guy shouldn't have played preseason because now he's out for 6 weeks or whatever.
Are the team's going to be ready from what you saw just watching, though? And these have got to be general questions again, but are the teams going to be ready in time? Because the season and the comp doesn't wait for anyone. It kicks off with a hell of a round to start with. It's Friday, February the 14th, and then away you go, non-stop.
I think we sort of ask this question of ourselves every year, and then what Super Rugby is very good at is putting up a really good match to open They got
their heads around it, didn't they? You're right.
We saw a really good game last year between the Chiefs and the Crusaders down in Hamilton. I remember going along to that and being really impressed with just how quickly the guys managed to click back into gear. Yes, there will be a few adjustments around refereeing because that's just kind of the way rugby is these days, but I don't think we're going to see any sort of drop in quality or anything. It is going to be a few weeks before we see the All Blacks back, I believe. Once again, that whole situation is all very murky, but I don't think we're going to be seeing any sort of drop in quality from what we saw this time last year.
Who's going to be starting, well, not starting, but who's going to be the Blues' first five mostly, do you think? Because if that's the case, and Beauden Barrett doesn't start the season because of All Black duty, but then again, they've got Harry Plummer. You could actually say All Black duty, Perifetta, All Black duty. Somebody's got to start. Who's going to be their number 10 consistently throughout the comp?
Well, yeah, they've got an embarrassment of riches after years of having no one.
It's a Crusaders embarrassment. What used to, they used to have 3 or 4, didn't they? So,
yeah, you're absolutely right. And now they've got a 55-year-old former Wallabies guy playing first five for them. So, but the deal with the Blues is that they, again, like I said, they're in a position to absorb injuries. They're able to give Beauden a rest because he's going to need it. Perifetta's probably going to need a rest as well because of his All Black, even though he barely played last year. And then they've also got Zan Sullivan on their books, and then the very promising, the Prince, they're calling him, Peyton Spencer, as well. And so there's a lot, and then Plummer can play, his 3 positions. So I don't think they're too worried about not having Beauden potentially for the first couple of weeks. But I feel like that's where he's going to end up once he does get back, and we'll see Plummer at 12. And really, though, they could even make adjustments in the game if they wanted. They could play a dual playmaker role with Plummer and Beauden, and triple even with Perifetta there as well, and even Sullivan if he needs to. So it's it's one of the reasons why I look at the comp and I'm thinking, well, I don't really see any reasons why the Blues don't back it up and win another championship.
They've got to be favourites. What game are you going to be watching this coming weekend?
Probably keep an eye just across all of them. I don't think there are any games in Auckland, so I'm hoping that someone does a Facebook Live or something, and I can keep an eye. But again, it's like what you mentioned before. I'm probably just keeping an eye on the injury list and hoping, fingers crossed, that no one gets hurt, because it would be a real shame to go down with an injury in February.
Every Tuesday on the show, LBP, that's Let's Be Positive with TMG, that's Twisel's Matt Gunn, the old mate, joins us. And yesterday, you like me, you love your C-130's Hercules. Well, they're doing the big flyover all around the country. Yesterday, North Island, today, the South Island, although they did the west coast of the South Island yesterday. And they were meant to fly over Twisel, mate. What happened?
Fog. They came into a patch of fog down around Franz Joseph down on the west coast. And instead of taking the left turn through the fog to come over Twisel, Mount Cook, Twisel, and then Amarama, they went straight to Wanaka. They dumped us. And if you can't rely on the Air Force to be on time and do what they say, who can you rely on? 40 minutes I stood at the end of my driveway looking out over Pelennor Fields, one of the movie sets from The Lord of the Rings. I thought, this is looking towards the Southern Alps. I can't get a better shot of these Hercules coming over anywhere in the district, and of course they didn't even come to the district. Furious.
Okay. They flew over, Auckland. We got to see them. Formation of 3. Beautiful sound that they are. Thing I love about anything to do with the armed services, mate, is that when they say it's going to be 12:52 in Auckland, there's no, oh, darling, hang on a second, I'll be another 10 minutes getting ready. You wait in the car. No, it's on time. It's at 12:52. They were actually a couple of minutes late, so...
Yeah, well, they were a few minutes late in Twisel as well, but I did see a few photos of it, and the reason I was so excited about it is, one, we're not going to see it again.
No.
And 2, 3 of them at 6,000 feet flying over the country is something you don't forget when they fly over. So, missed it, disappointed, but I took some good photos. I enjoyed the view. I caught up with my neighbour, Don, who was walking past to go and feed his horses and water the horses. And so it turned out all right. But, no Hercules.
Look, it's one of those ones as well, before we get on to sport, people, where, the younger generation's addicted to their cell phones, can't prize them off the cell phones. They think that stopping and smelling the roses is something that AI generates. This is one of those ones where you have to stop and smell the roses. Look up. You only get a glimpse for 10 or 20 seconds, mate, but it just makes you feel good, doesn't it? There's something, I don't know what it is. It just makes you feel good.
I felt good waiting for it.
There you go.
I mean, the expectation of the noise and the size and the speed and everything at that altitude, I thought, this is fantastic. And I've been out taking shots. I've been practicing with a sports mode. I thought, I'm here for this. I'll get one right above me. It'll look like you can just about touch it.
There you go.
And, of course,
fog and comes fog.
Like the blind date that she never showed up to, Martin. I was left dejected and hopeless.
I want to celebrate a couple of Aussie sports performances at the moment. One, not an Aussie, but she did perform at the Australian Open, and now she's performing on her Instagram or a TikTok or whatever. And the other, of course, your Test cricket team just absolutely smacking Sri Lanka. But let's start with Danielle Collins. I really like this story. We talked about it in the Type 5. I just like this story. Getting a bit of jip from the Aussie crowd. She says, hey, guess what? You're paying me. I'm going to go to the Bahamas. I'm going to post it. And that's what she's doing. Do you like it?
I know. Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I mean, this is the banter that crowd wants to get. They don't want the Novak stuff. They
Getting
want
all bitter
someone,
and twisted, yeah. They want somebody to give it back as hard, don't they?
They want to enjoy it. That's what it's about. And this young woman, she's taken it on. She's not only given it to them at the Open, she's gone to Barbados. She's put the bikini on. She's keep posting photos. She's patting herself on the bum, and she'll be back. Yeah. You've got another 12 months to wait, but I'll be back for it, and I'll be ready for it next year. And you see, that's what
this is to me the great interaction.
I'd like to see more of.
I'd like
to see more of this interaction.
Go on. All right. What about your cricket team, mate? The biggest loss ever in Sri Lankan Test cricket history. This is really significant to me because we watched New Zealand play in Gaul twice last year and, struggled on that pitch. This is an Australian team that goes over there, belts 600 and something in the first innings, puts Travis Head into open, dumps the young guy Constas, and just obliterates Sri Lanka. At the moment, you got to be raging favourites to take out the World Test Championship.
No, you'd have to say so on the basis of that performance and how we performed against India and Australia in the Test series. I mean, just looking fantastic. And they had their awards last night. I noticed, Marty, that Michael Bevan was placed into the Hall of Fame. Remember Michael Bevan?
Mate,
roll your eyes, Michael Bevan.
Every game against us, mate. Every game against us. It didn't matter what stage of the one dayer it was. He would come on and win it for Australia. Every game.
6,912 runs at 53.58, 232 one days. Between 99 and 2002, 1,259 days. He was the best one-day batsman in the world. I don't think we would have seen anyone maintain that number one spot for that long in the recent years, but just nice to see him on it because he was the killer at so many other sides.
Shame being that, of course, one-day cricket is just parked now, isn't it, because of T20, even though we've got the Champions Trophy coming up, actually, which is a brilliant tournament in itself. Let's talk about Zion Mo, who has left the Warriors and is going to the Bulldogs. I just hope he's not another Ali Katoa and comes back to haunt us like this. How good a player is he? Is it all about the potential?
Well, I just think we need some more rampaging props, Martin. We need some more steel up front, and I hope that he can deliver that. We ended up with Josh Curran last year, or was it the year before? He's been a tremendous off-the-bench player. I think he played well at the Warriors, but he seemed to come on and played better for the Bulldogs than he did at the Warriors, and we may see this with this new transition as well. I mean, we've needed a few more larger forwards. So we're very mobile. We were very good defensively. Hopefully he slots in there and he does make a mockery of you letting him go.
Yeah.
He was signed for another year. He's been a tremendous junior. They're talking him up in Australia as one of the best young juniors that have come through the program here. And we've got him, and we're more than happy to have him, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, all I'm, as a Warriors fan thinking is that if Andrew Webster doesn't want him, well, then there's a good reason for that, because in past years, of course, so many players leave the Warriors and they go on to better careers, don't they? Preseason this weekend,
Where'd your captain go? Where'd your captain from last year go?
Okay, well, all right. Well, he's okay. Right, I'm going. All right, there is one which, of course, is what do they call it? The one that
every now and then an anomaly. It's an anomaly. It's a blip on the radar. Anyway,
Preseason this weekend, mate.
Weekend, just
cool,
quickly.
Yeah.
Warriors are up.
Sharks
first in this 3-round preseason clash. Bulldogs aren't on the ground this weekend. We've got a couple of games coming up in the next few weeks. I think West Tigers, who will absolutely pound, and then we've got the pathetic Brisbane Broncos, who are saying that Reece Walsh is going to come out and be on another level this year.
Yeah,
he's going to surprise every team, be on another level. I hope he isn't.
Well, he's got actually.
But I don't want to see him lifting the Broncos.
But he's been distracted, hasn't he? And, put your shirt on, go to practice, be a really good player, and leave all the other fluff and stuff to the side till you are consistent over a number of years. That's
You're
what frustrates me.
About the Warriors this weekend. How are we looking for the Warriors? We've had conversations about the makeup of the team, conversations about who the captain should be. People disagree on that. Choose whoever you like. I don't think it really matters. A couple of senior players to help run the Warriors is what they need. And it doesn't really matter to me which player it is, as long as whomever it is stands up and does the Kevin Campion or whoever it is you want to put in that place. You just want someone to be there, do the right thing, show up every week, not be included in conversations about how they don't want to be at the club mid-season, and do the right thing. Yep. That's what they need. They need a committed player, a smart player, a mature player.
Look, it's like Super Rugby Preseason, mate. It's absolutely irrelevant. It just gives us something to think, okay, the season is coming. Super Rugby Preseason last weekend, this weekend. Your Highlanders, how do you think you're going to go? Jamie Joseph on the program today. And look, always up against it is that New Zealand side, which just can't sort of attract, the players that the rest of them. But I kind of feel that they kind of didn't let themselves down last year, but they need to overachieve. And I think that with him at the helm this year, maybe, be a minimum top 6 spot for them.
Yeah, well, that's the goal.
Everyone's goal, yeah.
I would say the lower half of the New Zealand teams. I don't see us dominating the rest of the competition.
No, that'd be silly to suggest.
I mean, that's unfortunate that's the position you go into in terms of the year ahead. It's a long way through a season when you realise that you're not quite good enough to beat the top sides here. You can compete with all the rest of them. Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? Until there's more money there to attract more people to the deep south, they're always going to be in and around that area. When they were winning and competing with the Crusaders in the earlier days of Super Rugby, we had much stronger teams.
Yeah, a hell of a lot of All Blacks in that side then, yeah.
A lot of All Blacks were from down that way. It was a much different scenario. And we haven't seen anything even similar to that for, 10 years or more probably. So, look, as you say, it's pre-season. You hope to see a little bit of something that you might get through the year. But, I thought to myself last weekend, there's not really anything for me to watch. So even having this pre-season stuff, at least I can distract myself for a couple of hours over this weekend with the Warriors. And there's another game on Sunday too, isn't there? So, look, I'm looking forward to it, but nothing to really read into it. You might see something, a combination, a couple of young players that you like. But, I mean, we're not all on the line, are we?
Let's wrap it up quickly then, and we talked about this in the Tight Five with the 2 court cases going on at the moment, Rubiales and the Hermoso kiss, and also Sam Kerr. And my view on both of these is that I think that they should be guilty verdicts, but I'm really interested in what the punishments are going to be, because Rubiales charged with sexual assault and coercion. Was it that? I guess you got to ask, Jenny Hermoso that. And Sam Kerr, as I've said earlier in the show, should be charged with being a drunken dork, is what she should be. Calling a police officer stupid and white is really insulting, regardless, whether you think it's racist. It's just really insulting. And also, the police were called because of her behaviour towards the taxi driver. She's entitled. She's behaving like a prat. I just don't know, Matt, in this case first, why she just didn't put her hand up and go, I'm sorry, I was drunk and out of order. And then none of this would be going on right now if that was the case.
Yeah, it's happened over £100. So the cab fare was £60, and the clean-up fee because one of the girls vomited in the cab was £40. They refused to pay it. And in fact, while refusing to pay it, a window was smashed in the cabbie's car. He drove them to the police station. The police watched Sam crawl out of the broken window. Then, drunkenly, they became abusive in the police station. Now, she's earning £100 a minute, is she?
Yeah, something crazy like that.
She's got to be something close to that. We've all been out and about. You've had too many. Drunk and obnoxious and painful are only millimetres away at any occasion. It's on her. Okay?
Totally agree.
There's no doubt. And she went back and agreed to pay for it. Then having a go at the police officer, it just seems drunken and stupid. So, there's your charge there. The next day, though, when she returned to the police station for a secondary interview, they said, do you realise that what you said to our officer could be deemed racist? She said, well, I understand that any conversation could be made into being a racist incident, which kind of says everything about it. Is it racist? Well, it is if you call them a stupid black person. Is it racist if you call them a stupid white person? It's stupid. And it probably is racist if we can't judge people on the colour of their skin. So I don't know how it'll turn out, but yeah, it's not so much about guilty or not guilty, because in
She's
both
guilty.
the cases
they're guilty. Yeah, they're guilty. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, we're even admitted to it.
Yeah,
there's no argument. It's on video.
yeah, you're guilty. Yeah,
Like it's on the guy's body cam video. It's pretty hard to say you didn't do it. How bad the punishment will be? A little slap on the wrist. Let's make an apology maybe to the policeman. I don't see criminal charges for racism on this. The bloke, Rubiales kissing Hermosa. She says she didn't consent. She says he tried to tell her to lie to say that she did consent. Again, not drunk, but absolutely stupidity, right? I mean, if he was drunk, at least he'd have an excuse. You don't just kiss someone in public. Again, it's on video. Everyone's seen it. Not everyone, but everyone everywhere saw it. And why? Why do it?
Yeah.
The charge should be stupidity and, I don't know, just make him give some money to a charity. Because you can't imagine how people think that's okay. And then the first response is, I'll get her to lie for me.
Yeah, everything about it says to me, that, he's guilty. And again, it's just about how exactly it's going to unfold from here.
If you can't get a conviction for someone doing that there, and if you can't get charges laid for someone who's caught on a police video cam, why do we bother recording anything? Surely there's your evidence.
The DSPN.
That's our podcast and show for today. Again, if you're liking what you're listening and what you're seeing, then a small favour, if you will. Can you please hit like, share, subscribe, follow, tell a friend about it. We are a fledgling podcast and show, the DSPN, and we need you. And if you are participating, well, just click that subscribe button. That would help enormously. Thank you so much if you already have. Again, tell a friend if you like. We're doing this every single day, putting out a show every afternoon. The DSPN.
This is the DSPN.